of the divisions, right, we're going to have one or two that have multiple playoff teams. Which divisions, and let's start with the AFC, which divisions do you think are the most likely to generate that second playoff team?
Well, this is a tough one because, I mean, I don't know, Mike. Is it me, first off, or am I crazy? I just feel like there's more talent and good coaching combinations and teams across the league than I ever remember. Like, I know we're going to have to make Super Bowl predictions, playoff predictions coming along here, and I'm trying to start it slowly going through that in my head. And it's tough because it's not like what division's going to have two in the playoffs. It's more like what division's not going to have two in the playoffs. And to me, there's only one division right off the bat that I can go, I feel confident in saying only one team will make the playoffs in that division, and that's the NFC East with the New England Patriots, okay? Now, all the other ones, I'm with you. But in the AFC, like you're asking, what's the one division I look at to go, I think two teams will be there? I guess if you made me pick one, I'm going to go with the AFC North. But I don't feel like comfortable about just picking that one. But I'm going to go with the North because I think there's three quality playoff caliber teams there in that division.
But see, that's the problem, Chris. The more quality playoff caliber teams you have, the more they chew up on each other, and the harder it is for the second place or the third place team to have a shot at the 5 seed or the 6 seed. I thought you were going to go AFC West because even though it feels like the Raiders and the Broncos are gaining some ground, I still think the Chiefs and the Chargers have some separation over them. And when you said the division that you think will only send one, for sure, the AFC East. I thought we were in agreement, but between the Bills and the Jets, one of those teams is going to rise up and threaten for a spot. I thought you were going to say the AFC South is the division that you think would only send one. But then you look at them, between the Colts and the Jaguars, and who knows what the Texans do. I just think that most of these divisions, now I agree with you, the East is the only one that has that obvious first-place team that has owned the division for the last generation, with the exception of 2008 when Tom Brady had a torn ACL. But in the other ones, they're so packed together, and there is a chance they will beat up on each other so much and pull their record down. This is why the Patriots are the 1 seed more often than not. They don't have to worry about these other teams in their division dragging their record down. That's going to be the problem in the North, the West, and maybe the South.
Yeah, no, I hear you. You're right. And, I'm with what you said with the Bills and the Jets, I expect great improvements. I think if you made me bet money right now, I'm not going to pick them to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be a pain in the butt for everybody, and they're going to be like just on the outside looking in, going in the right direction if I had a pick there. But, no, I mean, the point you make about the Patriots, very real. It's like the 49ers back in the 80s. They got to play in that old NFC West that, really didn't have any Super Bowl caliber teams. But, again, when you bring it back and you say the AFC West with the Chargers and the Chiefs too, okay, we've heard, Phillip Rivers make comments like we could have gone 6-10 last year. They won a lot of games by the skin of their teeth. And the other thing, just looking at their overall their overall schedule this year, the thing that scares me a little bit about the AFC West, just to get into that, is they got to play the AFC South, which I think is another division we look at and go, well, it could very possibly have two teams. And they also got to play the NFC North, which is one of the best divisions in football too. So I looked at that, let alone just not the division matchups. And I go with the AFC North just because you got the Ravens, a Super Bowl winning head coach. You got Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin, Super Bowl quarterback and head coach. And then you got this Cleveland Browns football team that I just think has an incredible talent and good coaching to go along with it as well. To where, if you made me pick one, I'm going to go with them. But in the AFC, you're going with the West. You think that's your lock, or you think we'll have two teams in the playoffs?
I hate to admit it, but you've kind of convinced me to revisit my thinking in that regard. And it's, I was writing something about the Raiders on Hard Knocks last night, looking at all the stuff that John Gruden has to worry about, and I went through the schedule of all those teams they play, and those schedules are roughly identical for the first place through the fourth place teams from last season in the AFC West. They've all got to play the teams of the AFC South. They've all got to play the teams of the NFC North, and that is going to make it harder. It's going to be very, other than the Patriots, who is going to rack up the kind of record that is going to make us say, wow. And even in the North, we're expecting the Browns to earn a playoff berth, and some think the Browns win the division. They got to deal with the Ravens and the Steelers, and the Bengals are not going to go quietly. You got some tough talk from Joe Mixon saying that they could be like the Rams offense. And of all those teams, the Bengals are in the best spot from the standpoint of preseason expectations because nobody's paying any attention to them at all.
No, you're right. And you really evaluate that Bengals roster, and I know we've had this conversation before. There's more talent there than you think. When you hear the word Cincinnati Bengals, you just go, oh, okay, it's the Bengals. Zach Taylor, kind of unproven head coach. Okay, Andy Dalton is not that great. But then you look at the rest of the team and you go, man, there's a lot of good players there. But I still think that's a team that's maybe a few players away, not going to be quite there yet. And Zach Taylor's going to have to get his feet underneath them. I don't think they're going playoffs this year. But, man, it's a tough one in the AFC if you make it just, nail down which division. And then you get in the NFC, Mike. And I don't know if it's any better. It might be worse in that conference because who do you pick in the NFC, Mike? Who is the division that if you had to say guaranteed has two teams in the playoffs, who would it be?
I think that if I had to pick one of the four, I'd say the NFC East just because I see a huge gap between the Cowboys and the Eagles and Washington and the Giants. And I think it's going to allow them to fatten up their records enough, the Cowboys and Philadelphia, that whoever finishes second place is going to compare favorably to the second-place teams from the other three divisions. Because we talked last week about how in the NFC North, they're so packed together, you could win it, you could be in fourth place or anything in between. The NFC West has three really good teams. The NFC South, I don't know that there's a second-place team that's going to be good enough to make it. I don't know. But I think in the East, because the Giants and Washington, I believe, will be down, it makes it easier for whoever doesn't win it to get enough wins under their belt to be that 5 seed or the 6 seed.
I lean a little bit towards you, towards what you're saying as well. The NFC South, you brought that up. I mean, that's three quality teams we know of, and we expect the Bucs to be better. But yeah, I'm not sure what the Panthers and Falcons will be, so I'm with you there. I'm not picking the NFC South. I think really, if you put a gun to my head, I'm with you. I'm going NFC East. That's where I'm going to do it because I just think the Eagles and Cowboys have two of the best rosters in the NFC and in the whole league in general. There's just not a lot of weakness there. But gosh, when I say that, I sit there and go, you look at the NFC West. You got the Rams, the Seahawks. I mean, I think we both look at them as playoff caliber teams. And then the NFC North, I expect Rodgers and LaFleur and them to get back in the playoffs. And I expect the Chicago Bears to be there as well. So it's a really tough one. I don't know why, but it just seems like the league has more parity this year than I can remember any time in recent history. And I think it's going to be hard to pick my playoff tree when it comes time to do that here on PFT.
I think that the NFC North is the division most likely to send only one team to the postseason.
Okay.
But because of the fact that they are bunched together. They play all four teams of the AFC West. They play the four teams of the NFC East. Now, look, Washington and New York should be easy wins for all those teams. Who knows? But the Eagles and the Cowboys will not be pushovers at all. It's going to be some tough games. And I could see any team winning it, and I could see only that team advancing to the postseason. That's how hard fought. It's going to be old black and blue division all over again this year. And they're going to be gunning for the Bears. They're going to be sleeping on the Lions. The Packers are going to be doing their best to prove that the past couple of years are more aberration than norm. And the Vikings desperate to show that this Kirk Cousins experiment is going to pay dividends. I think there's going to be desperation from week one, urgency from week one, and it may make whoever wins that division very well suited to compete in the postseason. But I think that division is going to be the most likely to only put one team in out of the NFC.
Okay, so the NFC, if you're picking the NFC East and the NFC West to have two, that's your conference this year where they're going to have multiple teams in the playoffs?
Probably, just because in the West, between the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers, I'm confident two of them will be good. I don't know which two. I'm going to go Seahawks as one of them. Between Rams and 49ers, I feel like one's going to overachieve and one's going to underachieve, and there's going to be two highly competitive NFC West teams. I don't want to overlook the Cardinals, but the Cardinals have to prove it to us. If Kyler Murray ends up being the next big thing and injects this higher level of skill than the Cardinals have seen in a young quarterback ever, and has a Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes type of an impact, and it's a big if until we see the guy play, but there's a chance that first Monday after the opening slate of games, we're saying, holy crap, Kyler Murray really is the goods. That's going to change our thinking as well.
Well, it will. It's not that, I'm with you in the fact that Arizona is not a playoff caliber football team, but if Kyler Murray proves to be what we all think he'll be, he's going to win some games or at least be a pain in the butt for some NFC West football teams to where, yeah, they might lose some games just because of his talents and what he brings to the table. But I want to piggyback off of something you said. I'm with you. The Rams and the 49ers are really, to me, two teams that are going to dictate how this whole playoff picture plays out. The Rams, I'm with you. I think we're going to see a little bit of a letdown type year, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean they don't make the playoffs. And I do expect the 49ers to have the best year they've had in the Kyle Shanahan regime or era, I should say. So within that, yes, does it one hurt the other to where one doesn't make the playoffs? Do they both make it? I don't know how it goes out. I think if I had to pick my two divisions that have two in the NFC, I'm going NFC East like you. Like I said, I think I am going to go the NFC North. I think I'm going to pick probably Bears and Packers when all said and done to make the playoffs. I just think between Aaron Rodgers, LaFleur, that O-line, the new energy in the building, and then the great free agent period that the Packers had strengthening their defense along with the draft, I just think the Packers are going to be a little bit in a resurgence mode in the NFL this year.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.